السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. يوتيوب كيف الحال يا يوتيوب؟ بسم الله. Before you, good brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, settle down to enjoy this video. Do me a solid, inshallah. I have a goal to reach 7,500 subscribers by the end of June. It's in around 20 days time. We'll see if we can do it, inshallah ta'ala. But the only way I'll be able to do it is with your help. So please make sure that you've, first of all, liked the video and then sub the channel. Jazakumullah khair. Okay. You can see the title of the video, or of the stream, I should say, and you can see the thumbnail. No Strings Nikah. No Strings Nikah. We have quite a few things to get into today. Before I do that, let's pull this up. There we go. So just like that video, barakallahu feekum. There's 25 of you in here right now, and only 9 of you have liked the video. So please like that video. Jazakumullah khair. There's something I need to pull up in the interim. I might open the lines for calls depending on how quickly I get through this. I may do. I will see. I might do. I might open the lines for you guys to be able to ask me some questions if you would like to. Okay. Let's copy that. All right, cool. Man said, sign me up, you know. Sign man up, Rev. Man's there, Rev. All right, I'm going to take you on a journey today. And first of all, before we get into it, I'm going to periodically make reference to the Telegram channel that is already live. It's already popping, actually, alhamdulillah. You can join the Telegram channel. It's a private channel, an anonymous channel for the purpose of what I'm about to talk about today. All right, and I'm going to explain it as we go along, but the channel is in the chat right now. So you can join that channel. No Strings Nikah. Am I talking about muta? Am I talking about temporary marriage? What the hell is Mahdi talking about? What's he going on about? Every age, every time, every society, every civilization has its own unique set of problems, challenges, issues that it must confront and deal with. Once upon a time, the issue of the day was famine, perhaps, or sanitary conditions, or constant warring between tribes, or on and on and on. Of the number of the many issues, that societal issues that we are facing today, and there are many, one of them, which is a massive one, is celibacy. Involuntary celibacy, may I add to that. That is Muslim men and women finding themselves in situation, especially the Muslim men. 30% of 18 to 30-year-old men are virgins. That's mad. It's absolutely mad. Finding themselves, for whatever reason, having to be in a state of involuntary celibacy. Okay? What happens when you have a society that has an unusually high number of individuals who are involuntarily celibate? Should I tell you what happens? This is what happens. Let me read you this message that I received. All right? Part of a lengthy message. But the brother says to me, I was wondering if you have any advice for someone struggling with compulsive sexual behaviors or porn addictions. I don't want to say too much because I don't want to put any sort of burden on you, but I wanted to know your thoughts. I have no more solutions and there's no pressure to respond, so on and so on and so on. Compulsive sexual behavior. Because these subjects are a taboo, point blank period, but especially in the Muslim community, they are an extra taboo. We kind of just turn a blind eye to it as if it's not really happening, as if Muslims don't have sex outside of marriage, Muslims don't suffer from compulsive sexual behaviors, Muslims don't use dildos, Muslims don't have masturbation problems, Muslims don't, on and on and on. And today's going to be a graphic stream. So if you're not down for that, get off the stream now. Thank you very much. All right. This is going to be unapologetically graphic because nobody else wants to talk about it. Everyone wants to pretend like it's all okay. And yes, okay, well, there's lots of people who are single, but you know what? It's okay. Fast, brother. Brother, you should fast. MashaAllah. And the brother saying you should fast, alhamdulillah, he has 2 wives, 3 wives. He's banging every other day of the week. But you should fast. It's like a millionaire saying to you, yes, being rich is not all that. Sure. It's like someone who's got food and is full up is saying to a hungry, starving person, food's not all that, to be honest with you. Like, actually, you know what? I'm feeling a bit sick. I ate too much food. Yeah, you try telling that to a starving person. Total lack of empathy. Total, you know, that famous saying, privilege is invisible to those who have it. Yes, privilege is invisible to those who have it. We have a problem, and that problem is celibacy. We also have another problem. And interestingly, the 2 problems together, married together, potentially offer us a solution. And that problem is a pandemic of single mums. Divorcees, single mums. Pandemic. And this stream is not, we're not going to get into we're not going to moralize whether it's right or wrong, what was the reasons, blah, blah, blah. I've done those streams in the past. This is not that stream. The bottom line is we have a pandemic of involuntarily celibate men, and we have a pandemic of single mums. Muslim mums I'm talking about now. Yeah, I'm referring specifically to the Muslim community. This is not a Muslim problem, I confess. This is a problem shared amongst all Westerners pretty much. And actually, these problems are starting to seep into the East as well, into the Muslim world. Nevertheless, we have 2 problems and potentially we have a solution that we can find. But let me take you on a journey. As technology develops, as I have touched upon in my streams in the past, the more technology develops, the more the Pareto principle comes into effect, the 80-20 law. 20% of the workforce create 80% of the productivity, 20% of all men have access to 80% of all women. And you can use this law for pretty much everything, but it's rough. It's rough, 80-20. It's an estimate. And actually, as technology progresses, it becomes more like 90-10, 95-5. Why? Because once upon a time, as I've mentioned many times in the past, the Dan Bilzerians of the world, the Andrew Tates of the world, and whatever Muslim equivalents, what Muslim celebrities we have as equivalents, those individuals only had access to women in their village. 150 years ago, there were no planes. They couldn't fly. They couldn't hop on a plane. They couldn't travel to another country. There was no Instagram to publicize or put their lifestyle out there and attract women from all over the globe. This didn't exist. So they could only flaunt what they had to the women in their local village, or as far as a horse and cart could take them, which wasn't very far. Therefore, that meant that all the other women in the world still wanted to get married. So they would get married to whatever other men were remaining in the village, because, there's only a couple of these superstar bombastic type individuals on the planet. So what's one to do? Well, one's going to marry with whatever they can. In fact, they wouldn't have even known about them. The Andrew Tates, the Dan Bilzerians, the Muslim equivalents, maybe Harris J or something like this. Those characters, they wouldn't have even been on the radar of these women in the next village or the village after that or the next country for that matter, because there was no internet or social media to be able to pass on this type of information. So women were quite happy to marry average brothers, average guys. They were quite happy to do that. No problem. Along comes the internet. And then we find ourselves where we are now. I have gone into this in length in previous streams. I am not going to bore my loyal audience who watch me regularly with the same rhetoric again. If you want to find that, you can find it on my channel where I go into detail. And if you want to have a more educated insight as to what I'm speaking about, then I suggest you watch the Jordan Peterson podcast, the title of which alludes me something along the lines of The Harsh Reality of Economic Inequality, something along those lines. Okay. So we have a problem. I'm going to be referring to my notes, by the way. And that problem, as I mentioned, is a pandemic of men who don't have sexual access, and a pandemic of single mothers. Now, let's refer specifically to the Muslim community now, okay? Because I'm in a somewhat privileged position where I don't just speak to men, but I also speak to sisters as well. I don't speak to hundreds and loads, but I speak to enough to get a rough pulse on what's going on in the community. And let me give you an example. One sister, divorcee sister, has a number of children. She confessed to me, I don't know why, but she did, that she has been committing zina with her ex-husband. Not just her ex-husband, but actually she committed zina after she finally cut it off with her ex-husband with someone else as well. Why? Ask yourselves why. I can already sense the moralizing. How dare she? Ho, blah, blah, blah. Okay, fine. But why? Why did this happen? Let me tell you why. Because we have today made haram easy and halal hard by making, I should say, roadblocks and obstacles in the way of our children, daughters, sisters to get married. We've made it hard for them. In fact, a lot of these women have made it hard on themselves for that matter, because they want to turn away so many men. But we have made it hard on them. The qualification criteria to get married has gone through the roof. Why? For the reason I mentioned just now. As society develops and we become more technologically advanced, our baseline level of comfort rises. Therefore, our basic expectation, alhamdulillah, our basic expectation rises with it. Once upon a time, a woman would have been, and a father for that matter, would have been perfectly happy if a man who asked for his daughter plowed the field and had a mud hut. Good enough for me, son. Off you go. You can take my beautiful daughter. Good enough for me. Oh, you plow the field? Fantastic. You've got a mud hut? You got 2 rooms? Yo, you're rich, bruv. Now that's just not the case. As society develops, as we become more comfortable, as technology advances, our baseline level, our baseline expectation increases. I had another sister say to me, and this sister was very self-aware. I give her that. She said to me, and I quote, "I am a broken woman." I'm quoting you verbatim. "I'm a broken woman. I can't attach to another man." These are her words. Whether it's true or not, maybe it's not true. Maybe her self-awareness is incorrect. Maybe she's off the mark. Maybe she can attach again. But she understood that certainly the likelihood of her being able to attach completely to a man, best case scenario, it's been diminished. The ability for her to do so has, at the minimum, been diminished. She said to me, "I'm a broken woman, but I still have physical needs. I still have desires that need meeting. And guess what? A dildo ain't cutting it." And I'm dealing with a very specific age group. Very specific, because this is where you'll find a lot of sisters who are single, typically divorcees, once, twice, maybe 3 times. 35 to 45. There's even a term for it. It's called the alpha re-entry phase, where she's on the last leg of her egg production. And whether she recognizes it consciously or subconsciously, she wants to fertilize those eggs. She has a greater proclivity or need to fertilize those eggs, or want, even if she doesn't actually want to have children, because she realizes this is her last leg. She's on her last leg. It's called the alpha re-entry phase, where she's back on the market, the dating market, the marriage market. She wants to get married again. She wants to pair up again. Now, most of these women don't actually want children. They've had their kids, but the drive, the biological drive, it's there. It's pushing them. It's urging them. There's something going on. She can't explain it. Maybe she's not even cognizant of it, but it's there. Something's going on. What do we do for these women? No strings nikah. When a woman says to you, "I don't want a full-time husband." Let me just say that again. I don't want a full-time husband. When a woman says to you, as a sister said to me, another sister, "I have a number of children. I don't want to introduce a man into their life. I've done the whole marriage thing twice, and I'm not down for that again. I'm just not down for it." but I still have physical needs. And I just want to be able to fulfill those needs in halal with a man once or twice a week for a few hours. That's it. You see, we like to think that women are not sexual creatures. Actually, they are. Are they emotional? Yes, they are emotional. Do they attach through sex? Yes, they do attach through sex. But we're going to get to that in a second, because I can already hear, oh, Mahdi, but this thing that you're suggesting, or what if they become emotionally involved and so on? Okay, that's true. There are problems there. And let's go there right now, in fact, because what led me to this conclusion was a very valuable piece of information that was in my blind side, that I was unaware of, that I was made aware of through a student of knowledge a number of months ago. And he asked me a question. He said to me, Mahdi, do you know what the overarching goal of the religion is with regards to man and woman, specifically relationships? And I was like, is it the nuclear home, right? Preserving the nuclear home. You know, kids being raised in a nuclear environment. He said to me, no. I said to him, so what is it? He said to me, the overarching goal of the religion is to protect the private parts from zina, fornication, illicit sexual intercourse, sex outside of marriage. That's the overarching goal of the religion. Everything else is secondary to that with regards to this specific topic. That's the number one concern. Because from there, all evils stem. From illicit sexual intercourse outside of nikah, out of union. And I'm intentionally staying away from the word marriage. I'll tell you why. And I'm using nikah specifically, because when we say marriage, it conjures up anxieties and feelings of so much commitment and dedication and having to bring all this money and a house and 50k mahar and so on. I am intentionally staying away from that word. I'm using the word nikah, because halal was never meant to be hard. And yet we associate the word marriage with hardship. It was never meant to be like that. Halal was never meant to be hard. So I'm going to stick with the word nikah. That's the overarching concern of the Sharia, of the religion, which is protect the people's private parts from zina. So if that's the case, which it is, it means then that the single mums that we have out here, whether it's their fault or not that they're single, maybe she shouldn't have left her husband. Maybe she is the blameworthy one. Maybe she is. Maybe she shouldn't have left. Maybe she was ungrateful. Maybe she was. But guess what? The overarching concern of the Sharia is protecting the private part. So what do? We have to find a solution. What's the solution? What do we do with these women? I agree that if a woman has been twice divorced, thrice divorced, and so on, you are playing Russian roulette if you want to start a family with that woman. You are definitely playing Russian roulette. Her ability to pair bond with you is diminished. The trials and tribulations that she has been through have had some type of wearing effect on her. Typically, a woman, she sticks the most to her first husband or her first intimate experience, and then after that it becomes gradually diminished from there. What do we do? What's the solution? Because the truth is, as much as some of the men on this side of the internet would like to say, well, you know what, who cares about them? It's their fault. They made their bed, let them lie in it. Okay, I hear you, but guess what? That's not what the religion says. The overarching concern of the religion is avoid zina. Protect the people's private parts from zina. That is the overarching concern. So if we're going to say that these women, we shouldn't touch them, we should just stay away from them, well, then guess what? We're going to have a zina problem. And we do. Congratulations. We have a zina problem. Whether you're aware of it, cognizant of it or not, we do. We absolutely do. A profile I posted earlier on the Telegram group, the No Strings Nikah Telegram group, I just received it. And I'm going to read it out to you. Okay? If you want to join the No Strings Nikah Telegram group, the link is in the description and it is also in the chat right now. Okay. She said to me, she wrote her initials for her name. She said to me, I'm 56, Middle Eastern, 56 years old. Okay, I want you to remember that. I'm 56, Middle Eastern, 5'3", and I would like to explore the third option that you have provided for this service, No Strings Nikah. You know what the third option is? I broke it down into 3 options. Option number 1, conventional nikah, normal marriage. Option number 2, negotiated nikah contract, where both parties can negotiate what they want. Option number 3, intimacy only. That was option number 3. This sister here, 56 years old, is looking for an intimacy only nikah. Women are not sexual. They shouldn't feel like that. No, they are. They have needs, desires, just like me and you. Perhaps not as great, but those needs are still there. And we are men. We find solutions to problems. That's what we do. We don't just get all salty and be like, oh, well, why is she single in the first place? I bet she did this, that, and the third. Maybe you're right, bro. Maybe you're right. The overarching concern of the religion is protection of the private parts. What are you going to do? What's your solution? Bring a solution to the table. Stop pointing out the obvious. What's the solution? And I mentioned the solution on a previous stream when I touched upon this in the past. We have a generation of men who are involuntarily celibate. They have no sexual outlet because the women in their age bracket just don't want them. Been through this many times in the past, and you can refer to the beginning of this stream as well if you want to. As the more technology develops, the more men will be single, and the more the elite of the men of that society will be rewarded in a skewed fashion, Pareto principle fashion. What do? Well, potentially we have a problem. We have 2 problems that form a solution. Young men don't have any sexual outlet. Older women who also want halal but don't want a relationship, not a relationship. They don't want a family. They've had their families. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. I am case study number 1. I have had a no strings nikah. I've mentioned this in a few of my previous streams, and I'll go through it again for those of you who might be hearing it for the first time. When I was 25 years old, I had a sister approach me. She said she was 32 years old. She ended up lying to me. That's a whole other story. She was actually 42. We'll get to that another time. Anyway, she said to me, I'm 32 years old. I've had my kids. I don't want to have any more children. And the reason why I'm saying let's just pretend she's 32 because I married her on the premise that she was 32. She wasn't. But I married her on that premise. So let's continue. She said to me, I've had my kids. I don't want any more kids. Furthermore, I can't have any more children. I can't. My tubes are tied. I can't actually have any more children. I said, okay. She said to me, I have my own home. I take care of myself. I do well for myself. I just want to be with you in halal. And then she finished it off with the punchline because I said to her, look, bruv, I'm broke. Yeah, I'm barely surviving here with one wife. At that time, I had 5 children. Or did I have 4? I had 5 children, but one of them had died. So 4 children. I said to her, I've got nothing for you. Like, she said to me, it's fine. I just want you. Days come 1 day a week. Perfect. If you just come 1 day a week, perfect. That's more than enough for me. Just come 1 day a week. And then she topped it off with the following statement. She said to me, it's free sex. Man was like, Takbir! She topped it off with those words. It's free sex. Excuse me. You gonna say no to that? She's had her kids. She's done the whole full-time marriage thing. She's happy for you to come around even once a week if needs be. She can't fall pregnant. It's like tick, 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 tick. Free sex. In halal, most importantly. Is it wrong? You might be feeling uncomfortable listening to this right now. It might be making you feel a certain type of way. I don't care how you feel. All right, we need to have this open discussion. I did it. Now, there are pitfalls to this as well. And I have experienced those pitfalls, and I'm going to get into them. We're going to talk about them, inshallah. First of all, though, shout out to Akeem Mujahid. Shout out to you, Akeem Mujahid. Takbir! Allahu Akbar. Assalamu alaikum, Brother Mahdi. Thank you for your €50 super chat, my man. Just showing appreciation for your dedication to our current modern matrimonial challenges. May Allah bless you and your family. Ameen, ameen. And you know what? Shout out to you, Akhi Akeem. Much appreciate this extremely generous super chat. Jazakallah khair. And thank you, my brother. Jazakallah khair. I have sons that are coming towards the age of a lot of my audience. The majority of my audience are between the ages of 18 and 35. The vast majority is 18 to 25 and 25 to 34, something like this. I can't remember how YouTube breaks it down. Anyway, 18 to 35. My oldest son is nearly 16. So undoubtedly, my children are going to be entering this world of challenges soon as well. And when some of you young men reach out to me, wallahi, you're so young. It's like I see you like my son. I know I'm only 32, so that might be a bit weird for you. I'm more like a big brother to a lot of you as opposed to an uncle. But I started having kids so young that a lot of you, I see you as my sons, wallahi. I think to myself, man, it is rough out there. It is rough out there. So let me just refer back to my notes before I continue. I don't want to lose my train of thought. This is very important now. No strings nikah. Many of you will say that presents its own set of problems. And I would respond in kind, you're absolutely right. It does. But not every solution is a complete cure to the problem. Oftentimes, a solution to a problem also has its own problems, but then it becomes a case of which one is the lesser of the two evils. Let me give you an example. Khabib, everyone's favorite MMA fighter, everyone's favorite fighter, full stop. UFC lightweight champion, undefeated, undisputed. You guys know that. You know the crack. MashaAllah, multi-millionaire. I think he's even a centimillionaire now. Doing amazing things for his people and his village and his country. A very poor country. Comes from a very poor village in the mountains. Doing amazing things for them. Building gyms and taking care of families low-key that you don't even know about. Paying for the living of many fighters on the roster. Many things that he's doing that we don't even know about. But from what we know, he is using his money, not for cars, not for watches, not for necklaces, not for holidays. He's using it to funneling it right back into his community. But do you know what the tragedy of that is? And it's not wrong. He's doing the right thing. There is no criticism here from me. I'm simply just going to state a fact. And that fact is hard times create strong men. Strong men create good times. Good times create weak men. Weak men create bad times. Khabib was raised in hard times. I don't know if Dagestan were involved in a civil war with Russia. I know Chechnya certainly was in the late 90s, early 2000s, or maybe it was early 90s for that matter, in the 90s/2000s. But they basically share borders. They're right next door to each other, Chechnya and Dagestan. At the minimum, he grew up in poverty with hardly any access to any type of advanced resources when it comes to training and things like this. Basic equipment. My guy was wrestling bears. You guys all know this. Now he's built a state-of-the-art gym. Beautiful gym. State-of-the-art facilities, improving the quality of life for his people. And yet there's a tragedy associated and attached to this. And that tragedy is, the tragic irony is that Khabib became the man that he did precisely because he was raised under such difficult conditions. Precisely because he was raised under such tough conditions is why he came out the way he did. That mindset, that mentality, that grit can only be developed in extreme pressure. Extreme pressure. Because it's not just his skills that made him the guy who he was, made him the champion. It was his mindset, the way he would constantly push forward, how aggressive he was on the floor. It was his mindset. You can't even teach that. You have to be raised in that hardship to develop that environment. You guys know the old saying, pressure creates diamonds. So the tragic paradox here is that as Habib reinvests into his community, in 30, 40 years' time, most probably Dagestan will no longer be producing champions. Most probably. Maybe a bit more, maybe 50, 60. They will not be producing champions anymore. Why? Because good times create weak men, which is what we are seeing in abundance in the West today. Yeah? Now, does that mean that Habib should not invest into his community, into his family, into his village? Is that what that means because of the inevitable result of that? And that he should just leave his village in difficulty and hardship? No, it doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean that at all. It doesn't mean that. He should still do that. But the sad thing is that it will inevitably have an impact on that grit, that hunger, that hardship when you're in the cage and you're thinking about when you didn't have food for 3 days or whatever it was. And this guy in front of you, he's trying to take food off your plate by beating you. Whilst the other guy fighting you, he doesn't have that same level of hunger, or he has not been exposed to that same level of hardship. And if he has, it's just not the same. You know, he's raised in middle class background, never really experienced hunger, never really experienced sleep deprivation, never really experienced. Sure, he's been through the rigmarole, he's trained in the best gyms with killers and so on, but there's levels. You've heard Habib say this before, there's levels to the game. Skills is just one of those levels. Skills is just one of the levels. Up here, that's developed through hardship. Bismillah. Now, what are the potential drawbacks or ill effects of a no strings nikah setup? Let's go through them. First of all, you can go into a nikah with a sister and she can go into a nikah with you upon a particular premise. And that premise is we will only see each other twice a week. I only need X amount of provision or no provision at all for that matter, as was my case. And I'm happy with that. But then as you get together and you fall in love and so on and so on and so on, then eventually things change. And this is something, a very famous piece of advice my father gave me. Mahdi, women change their mind. And this is absolutely true. They do. They're emotional. They fall in love with you. So what is one to do? Because you could go into a nikah with a sister upon a particular agreement, but then months down the line, she changes her mind. Or maybe even you change your mind. Maybe you start falling in love with her. Maybe you're being the needy one. Frankly, it's quite normal. So then what do? What's the solution here? It's very simple. Either you progress the relationship to a more conventional type marriage, or you go your separate ways. It's very simple. Simple, but not easy. And that decision can only be yours. Now, if you've gotten with a sister who's been married many times before, and now you want to make her the mother of your children, well, I wouldn't advise that. She probably doesn't even want that because she's done it and she doesn't want to have any more. But if she does, I would not advise that. Are there unicorns? Maybe there are. But generally speaking, no, I wouldn't advise that. But if your feelings and emotions have changed, because we're human beings and we're subject to our emotions, fine. You are going to have to make a decision. And that decision must be either we make this a more conventional marriage or we go our separate ways. That's it. No complaints. Nice and simple. Maybe you could say, oh, but Mahdi, what if children are born from this relationship, this marriage, and then they go their separate ways? Then what? Now we have even more single mother homes. And I'd say to you, bro, they're committing zina anyway. What are you talking about? They're already committing zina. You just don't see it. You just don't know about it because nobody is prepared to admit it, obviously. You're not meant to. You're meant to keep that a secret. But they're already committing zina. They're already in haram. So what's the difference? We might as well make it halal. Remember, we have to refer to the overarching concern of the religion. The overarching concern of the religion is protect the private parts from zina. Now I'm in touch with senior students of knowledge with this, by the way, who have access to some of the Kubara al-ulama, some of the major scholars. Okay, so I'm in touch with them, but I openly invite, and I understand this is a small channel and probably not of interest to most senior students of knowledge or mashayikh for that matter, but I invite you onto my channel. Come onto my channel. We can have this discussion, and we can marry your knowledge of the religion with my knowledge of what is going on the ground from a perspective of relationships with Muslims in the West today. Because you might have the Islamic knowledge, and this is all important, but a lot of you, if not most of you, don't have the tacit on the ground knowledge with what is going uh, on a contemporary level with our Muslim brothers and sisters today. On the ground, you're just not in touch. You're out of touch. And that tends to be the case. The more successful you become in your particular chosen field, the more detached and out of touch with the on the ground stuff that's going on. Think of a CEO of a company. How far removed is he from the low level worker that's working the system on the ground every single day? He's extremely far removed. He's working from a macro level. But that means that he could be blindsided by the micro level stuff. I have the micro level information that some of you senior students of knowledge or even the mashayikh would benefit from. So again, remember the principle. First principle, the overarching concern of the religion is protect the private parts from illicit sexual acts. The second principle is that not all solutions are complete in their total and are free, I should say, from defects or from harms that they may produce themselves. That is when one has to weigh up the benefit and the harm. And for me, this is clear, this is obvious. We will choose protecting the private parts from illicit sexual intercourse any day of the week over my guy accidentally falling in love or whatever. It can happen, right? Any day. It's better. Not to mention that this request is coming from the women. I can't emphasize that enough. Let me say that again. This request for a no strings nikah setup is coming from the sisters. They're just too shy to talk about it. There's no safe space for them to be able to talk about this because they will be judged for it. They will be thought about in some type of way. What's wrong with you? Are you a hoe? Like, what the hell? Why don't you want a full-time marriage? You don't understand, bro. She's been through the rigmarole twice, thrice, 4 times. She doesn't want to do it again. Marriage is a commitment. Marriage is a commitment. Like Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anh said, marriage is slavery. I'm not quoting verbatim. So, paraphrasing. So be careful whom you give your daughters in slavery to. The rights of the husband upon the wife are heavy and many. Heavy and many. A lot of women who've been through it multiple times don't want to go through it again, but they still have physical needs. What do you do? I just offered you the solution. No strings nikah. Join the Telegram group. Link is in the description. Now, is this nikah like a mut'ah type setup? No. Mut'ah is when there is a specific clear end date or end time on the marriage. You're saying like, we're going to be married for, I don't know, a day, a week, an hour, whatever. That's when it becomes haram. And anyway, this discussion, you should take this to the students of knowledge and the mashayikh. But I'm just telling you basic knowledge. From the basic knowledge that I understand is that it becomes haram when your intention is to divorce. Your intention can't be to divorce in this. Your intention must be, we're going to enter this and stay for as long as we can. We'll stay for as long as we can, and we'll try and make it work for as long as we can. And if we can't make it work, well, then we go our separate ways. It is what it is. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. Jazakallah khair. Okay, a couple of caveats. I do not recommend this for young girls at all. I do not. Let me say that one more time. I do not recommend this for young girls. Young girls meaning girls between the ages of 18 and, I don't know, 25 or whatever. And I'm referring specifically to those girls who have not been married before. You need to have your bite at the apple at a conventional marriage, because this is the best form of marriage. A conventional marriage where everyone has their rights. and you're living together on a full-time basis and so on, this is the best type of setup. This is the best type of marriage, full stop. So you need to go that route first. And inshallah ta'ala, you will never have to entertain this. No strings nikah. Hopefully you will never have to entertain this. So please, because 25% of my audience, nearly 25% of my audience are women, and you're young, you're between the ages of 18 and 35. This stream is not for you. Just click off the stream already. It's not for you, especially if you haven't been married before. Especially if you haven't been married before. You need your conventional bite at the apple. So please, I don't want you girls on there. Okay? Young sisters, never been married before, I don't want you on there. It's not for you. This is a solution for women who have been married a number of times before, once, twice, thrice, have had their kids, and just don't want to do the whole full-time rigmarole again. If that's not you, don't join the group. Please. Thank you very much. Gentlemen, now I talk to you. You will be astounded what some of these sisters are happy to accept if only you were honest and direct with them in the first place. What do I mean? A lot of you men, when you're in talks with these sisters, whether it's as a first wife or a second wife or whatever, you sell them on a dream. And the dream of, yeah, we're gonna do this, and I'm gonna meet you're gonna meet my family, and we're gonna have kids, and whatever. I'm gonna be a great stepdad to your kids, blah blah blah. You sell them on a dream, and then once you realize what you've done, you start pulling back. And oh, by the way, I don't think we can do this. Oh, by the way, I'm not too sure about that. There's a great saying that I read, and actually it was in The Laws of Human Nature by Robert Greene, that telling someone you're gonna do something and then not doing it is the same as giving someone something and then taking it away. Let me say that again. Telling someone that you are going to do something and then not doing it is the same as giving someone something and then taking it away. And if you want, how can I say? If you want me to walk you through how to talk to these sisters, how to actually have a direct conversation and get the best response out of them, it's stuff I can't say, and I can't say it on this stream. I can't say it on YouTube. You're gonna have to email me, and the link is in the description, and we can do a one-on-one. And I can tell you exactly. I've done this. I've said this. I've elicited the response, the shock, the initial shock that comes first, and then the weakening of their knees, because you can see it happening in front of you. But that's not for this stream. You're gonna have to email me, and we can set up something after that. But the bottom line is, you sell them on all these lies. You try to court them with, oh, we can do this, and I'm going to do that, and I'm going to buy this, and I'm going to go there. And oh, please, bro. You don't mean none of that nonsense. Yeah, you are suffering from, what's the word I'm looking for? Pre-nut confusion. You know, there's post-nut clarity. Well, there's also pre-nut confusion. That's what you're suffering from right now. Or you're just a coward, and you don't want to tell her what you're really feeling, which is, all right, listen, I just want to do this, this, and this. Are you okay with that? You're not okay with that? Okay, let's go our separate ways. You are trying to trick her. You are trying to hoodwink her. You want to trick her by trying to sell her on all of these dreams, and then you take it all away at the last moment. You can't do that. You got to go the direct approach. All right? You have to go the direct approach. Now, let's ask a really uncomfortable question. A question that I'm sure some of you will be thinking, which is, but Mahdi, would you let your daughter do that? Good question. Makes you feel a bit uncomfortable, doesn't it? Would I let my daughter do it? Let's ask a better question. Can I stop my daughter from doing it? Think. Can I stop her? Do I have a shari'i right to? Okay, let's say you can stop her. You can ostracize her, and she decides, you know what, I don't want to upset my father, and I'm just not going to do it. Okay, fine. You know what she ends up doing? Committing zina. Let's say that I find myself in a situation one day where one of my daughters, let's say, she ends up divorced, maybe twice, maybe God knows 3 times. Who knows? Who knows what the future holds? And then she decides that she doesn't want to go into a full-time arrangement anymore. and she wants to consider a no strings nikah, what do? Let me be perfectly candid and honest with you guys, yeah? If my daughter turned around and said that to me, I'd say to her very simply, I give up my waliship to whoever, the sheikh, the imam. I can't stop you, I understand that, and he's going to override me anyway. So I give up my waliship to this sheikh here, this individual here. Don't involve me, I don't want to know, because it's going to hurt my heart too much. I don't want to know that you're going in and out of these type of arrangements. Is it better than zina? Yes, it's better than zina. But it's too close to me. It's too personal. It's just too much. I'm being honest with you. I'm a human being. I mean, I've got emotions. I've got feelings. I don't want to think of my daughter in that way. I want her to be married once and live her happily ever after. But that's not reality. Sometimes people go through stuff that then they find themselves in uncomfortable situations they never thought they would be in. So that would be my response. I'd say, okay, I don't want to be your wali anymore. Your brothers are certainly not going to want anything to do with this because they feel the same way as I do. I know that for a fact. So you know what? The sheikh is going to override me anyway because I don't have a shari'i reason to stop you. That's what he's going to do. So I give up my waliship to fulan or fulan. And don't tell me, I don't want to know. Don't tell me. That's how I would deal with it. Is it uncomfortable? You're damn right it's uncomfortable. Do I want to think of my daughter? Damn right I don't want to think of my daughter in that way. But we have to be practical, not just emotional. My emotional side says, stop her at all costs. My logical side says, you can't do that. But I'm still emotional. So I have to find a way to cope. It's a coping mechanism. Yes, it's a cope. What is one to do? That's what I would do. I don't want to know. Because you know why? Because if I stop her or try to sabotage it, she is gonna commit zina anyway. Most probably. And whose head is that going to be on? Or let's say that she doesn't. Okay, maybe she doesn't. But then she develops a debilitating masturbation addiction, porn addiction, God knows what else. It has to manifest, it has to excrete itself somehow, these physical desires. Why do you think we have porn addictions and masturbation addictions and all of that stuff in the first place? Why do you think? Because men not having that natural outlet in the first place, and women for that matter as well. That's where these things stem from. So it's lose-lose all around. We have to find the lesser of the two evils or of the three evils. Is it uncomfortable? Yes, it's uncomfortable. I don't like it. It is what it is. So I hope that answers that question or addresses that question. And finally, the final thing is, now I know there are two opinions of this in Islam with regards to whether a woman has to have her wali present or not. I'm aware of that. But my opinion, if a woman let me just rephrase all of that. I know that there are two opinions with regards to a woman who has been married before, whether she needs her wali or not. And if I'm not mistaken, the Hanafi school of thought, which is the only school of thought that says this, but nevertheless, it is a respected opinion, says that a woman can marry herself. She doesn't need her wali if she's been married before. I don't personally take this school of thought, or this point of view, I should say, this opinion. I don't accept this. However, I know that it is a respected opinion in the Hanafi madhab. And therefore, if you genuinely believe that to be the stronger opinion, that a woman who has been married before, she doesn't need her wali, and please correct me if I'm quoting this incorrectly, or she needs a wali, but it doesn't have to be her dad or her father or whatever. It can be anyone. She can appoint him herself, basically. It doesn't have to be the normal guy, father or brother. If you take that opinion, fine. That makes life simpler for you. Not gonna lie. If you're a man, you're trying to do this, it does make it simpler if you're not trying to involve her family, because her family are going to get emotional when they find out that this is a no strings nikah. They're going to feel a certain type of way, and they will most probably try to sabotage it. I personally don't take that opinion. Me, I will go directly to the sister's brother, father, whoever is, the direct line. Usually it's the father. If the father's not around, then it's the brothers. And me personally as well, if they say no, I'm moving on. I'm not even looking to have a wali put in their place because she has the right to and so on. I just don't want to get caught up in all that drama. There's someone else out there. I'm just moving on. If you want to do that, you can. You're going to have to speak to a sheikh and he's going to have to get involved and so on. But first point of call is her mahram. her actual mahram, her brother or her father. So I just wanted to point that out as well, because I don't want you brothers going, under the table trying to find the easiest way to fulfill your sexual needs and so on. There are other things I want to talk about, but I really don't. I feel like now I'm starting to step outside of my lane a little bit, and we're going into religious matters too much. So I want to just stay in my lane a bit. But that is the crux of the matter. This is a solution to a problem. If you don't like it, tough cheddars. This has existed from the dawn of day, by the way. This is not new. There's a term for it, misyar. You probably heard the term misyar. The word marriage triggers so many anxieties, stress, and expectation, especially when you are dealing with women who have been married many times before. There is too much expectation tied to that word. So we have to find a way to solve this problem in as simple a manner as possible. That is also halal. No Strings Nikah. You can join the Telegram group. It's in the chat and it's in the description. Jazakumullah khair. Like that video on your way out. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa